Essex.
Thank you very much, Speaker. I'll be sharing my time with the member from Prince Edward Hastings. It's my pleasure to rise today and to speak to Bill 105, the Supporting Small Businesses Act. I just want to get it in the record, though, the number of jobs that my riding has lost, as well as some of the other concerns of small businesses in our community. Since I last rose to speak to this bill at second reading, my riding of Chatham, Kent, Essex has lost well over 1,000 jobs. Mr. Speaker, we are all well aware of the tremendous impact that the Heinz closure will have on the people of Leamington. Well, Heinz has garnered much attention from the media. I just want to make sure that we don't overlook some of the other tragic job losses that have hit my riding under the watchful eye of this Liberal government. Here's a quote from Blackburn News on November 13th, 2013. And I quote, "The loss of another 100 manufacturing jobs in Tilbury is being called devastating for the small community." Worthington Cylinders, Speaker, announced Tuesday it's closing its Tilbury plant and selling off all of its assets. Come January, all workers will be out of work. From the Chatham Voice, dated November 22nd, 2013, and I quote, "McKesson Canada is gutting its operations in Chatham. The pharmaceutical supply company has 71 employees working at its Richmond Street distribution center. When the cuts are done, just 6 people will be left standing." In the span of 9 days, the riding learned it would be losing well over 1,000 jobs. And if that's not enough to convince Premier Wynne that Ontario is facing a job crisis, Speaker, I don't know what is. The truly scary thought is that there may be many, many more to come. Today we found out yet another manufacturing plant is leaving Ontario. Kellogg's is closing up shop in London, leaving over 500 people out of a job. Just over a month ago, they cut 110 full-time union jobs and 10 management positions. Warning signs have been raised all over my riding by a growing number of businesses. I've heard from local businesses that they're having a tough time keeping up with their energy bills and have had to hold off on hiring new employees, if not lay people off. Other businesses have complained about the burden of redundant new WSIB premiums and the impact of the Colleges of Trades tax. These are real concerns from the real small businesses in Chatham, Kent, Essex. What would Bill 105 do to support them? Well, it would amend the employer health tax by increasing the exemption from $400,000 to $450,000 effective 2014 and impose a $5 million payroll threshold. We're talking small businesses here, Speaker. It's been said that in this House that this amount would amount to about $950 a year. Well, it's a start. It doesn't address the issues I hear about every day in my riding. After hydro rates increased on November the 1st, 2013, my office received numerous, and I emphasize the word numerous, calls from local small businesses. At the end of the day, they all had one thing in common. Each one was outraged by the fact that the global adjustment fee on their energy bills had doubled, and in some cases, in just a few months. Global adjustment doubling in just a few months. Mr. Speaker, some of these businesses are struggling to stay afloat, and these constant bill increases are pushing them to the very limit. These are the concerns of small businesses in Chatham, Kent, Essex. One local shop owner told me he was outraged by the comments of the Liberal Energy Minister, who actually had suggested that when it comes to skyrocketing energy bills for people's homes or our province's job creators, we should just get better at conserving power. Well, Speaker, these businesses are drowning, and you're telling them to simply be better swimmers? They need a life raft. What countless struggling businesses of Ontario, large and small, truly need is a government that will realize the gravity of the fiscal situation and make a real effort to improve the environment to do business here. Create the proper working conditions that will attract business. Business comes in, business provides jobs. That's how it should be working. Bill 105 doesn't do that. Bill 105 shows that each and every frustrated business owner or concerned employee that this government treats the economy like an afterthought. It demonstrates to small businesses that the government thinks your problem is so small, so insignificant, that it can be whisked away with a small change found in this bill. What will Bill 105 do for Mike Lenover, owner of Lenover Meats in Chatham? When I debated this bill at second reading, I told Mike's story. He approached me a few months ago with his energy bills, and I was astonished to learn that his global adjustment portion of his energy bill alone had increased by 177%. At that time, he told me that his energy bill was almost equal to his payroll. As if things aren't hard enough on small businesses, Ontario's energy rates took another hike on November 1st. We've also learned, as the Liberals confessed, energy bills for Ontario families and businesses are set to climb even higher. Bill 105 isn't going to do anything to remedy this. The following quote from a CTV News article titled, "Ontario Electricity Rates to Keep Rising as Long-Term Energy Plan Released." And I quote, "Ontario electricity consumers can expect their bills to jump almost 50% in the next 3 years under the new long-term energy plan unveiled Monday by Energy Minister Bob Chiarelli." End of quote. Well, Minister, since I last spoke to this bill, I was approached by a prominent business owner whose total global adjustment charges for the year now surpass their payroll entirely. Mr. Speaker, it's obviously shocking that a business in this province is paying more in global adjustment charges than they are to their employees with no ability to budget for drastic increases. Keep in mind, this isn't even the whole energy bill we're talking about, but an often overlooked fee that the government seems to increase on a whim, or they allow it to increase on a whim. Many people in this province look at this Liberal government and see a group that trivializes the job crisis by having the audacity suggest that this one minor bill will actually save small businesses in Ontario. Well, partisanship aside, Speaker, I am, and proud to say that I'm a lifelong resident of Chatham-Kent-Essex, and I've seen well over 1,000 jobs leave our community in just a matter of weeks. Chatham-Kent-Essex and the rest of Ontario are experiencing an economic crisis, and tinkering with the status quo is by no means a solution. People in Chatham-Kent look to their government for leadership. They expect and demand them to take action when a crisis hits. They see no bold leadership from Premier Wynn's Liberal government. All they see is the continuation of a decade of disgrace that has cost my riding alone, well over 10,000 jobs since this government came into power in 2003. They see a government that is either not listening to their concerns or simply does not care to act on them. Our small businesses are struggling to keep up with skyrocketing hydro rates, increases to WSIB premiums, additional costs brought on by the College of Trades tax, and never-ending piles of red tape. The answer to the concerns is nowhere to be found in Bill 105. How many more Ontarians must lose their livelihoods before this government understands the severity of the situation at hand? How many more of our friends and family members will in fact lose their jobs before this government truly acts? Speaker, again, I personally have a hard time agreeing that this act, Supporting Small Businesses Act, Bill 105, will actually do anything to truly help small businesses in the riding of Chatham-Kent and throughout Ontario. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you. Further debate? Member from Prince Edward Hastings.
Well, it's a pleasure to join the debate this afternoon. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Before becoming the critic for citizenship and immigration on this side of the House, Mr. Speaker, I actually, for the previous 2 years upon my election victory in 2011, was Tim Hudak's small business and red tape critic. And it was great as I traveled across the province from Windsor and right into the Golden Horseshoe and through the Greater Toronto area and Peel region and up north into Sudbury and North Bay, and then made my way through Eastern Ontario and up into Ottawa as well.
Vaughan is
spent some time in Ottawa meeting with business owners and chambers of commerce and business improvement areas and hearing their concerns. I can tell you there were 3 or 4 main themes that I heard over the 2 years. One was the rising cost of electricity, which we've heard a lot about this afternoon, and we continue to hear more and more about from the Auditor General's report, which was released this afternoon, especially focused on VOPG and how that has driven our electricity prices through the roof, not to mention what the Green Energy Act has done, and we've debated that many times over and over here in the House. But number one on the list of businesses that I spoke with as